The year is 1773. The air in Boston Harbor is thick with the scent of salt and rebellion. This isn't a battlefield yet, but the war has already begun in the hearts of the people. For decades they were subjects of the crown. Now they are something else. As 342 chests of tea sink into the cold Atlantic, the bridge between an empire and its colonies collapses. This isn't just about taxes, it's about the soul of a people who no longer feel at home in their own land. April 18th, 1775. 2 lanterns hang from the Old North Church, a signal that changes history. One man, Paul Revere, rides through the dark, not just carrying a message, but waking a nation. The regulars are coming. The British professional machine is moving, marching toward the quiet towns of Lexington and Concord. They seek gunpowder and leaders, but they will find something they never trained for: a father, a son, and a neighbor standing together. April 19th, 5 a.m. The morning mist at Lexington Common is cold. 77 men, farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, stand in a thin, fragile line. Facing them, the most disciplined infantry on the planet, the Redcoats. There is a heavy, suffocating silence. No one wants to be the first to kill. Major Pitcairn screams for the rebels to disperse. The Americans hold their ground, their hands trembling on wooden muskets. Then a crack, a single shot. History doesn't record who pulled the trigger, but that sound echoes across the Atlantic. In a heartbeat, the silence is replaced by the roar of musketry and the screams of the fallen. 8 Americans die before the sun is fully up. The revolution has its first martyrs. The path to independence is now paved in red. June 17th, 1775. The British are trapped inside Boston, but the high ground, Bunker Hill, belongs to the rebels. Overnight, a massive earthen fort has appeared. To the British generals watching from the ships below, this is an insult that cannot stand. They expect the farmers to flee at the first sight of a bayonet charge, but the men on that hill have spent the night digging, praying, and waiting. They are low on gunpowder, low on food, but high on a new, dangerous resolve. The heat of the afternoon is stifling. 2,000 redcoats begin their ascent. They move in perfect lines, a wall of scarlet against the green grass. Behind the barricades, the Americans hold their breath. Their commander, William Prescott, gives the order that would become legend: "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." He knows they only have enough powder for a few volleys. Every shot has to take a life. The first volley is devastating. The British lines shatter. Then a second charge, shattered again. For a moment, the impossible seems real. The empire is retreating. But courage cannot replace ammunition. By the third wave, the Americans are out of powder. They fight with rocks, with the butts of their muskets, with their bare hands. They lose the hill, but they win something more valuable. The British lose over 1,000 men in a single afternoon. The lesson is clear. The Americans will not just protest, they will fight to the last man. But victory in a single battle doesn't win a war. In Philadelphia, on July 4th, 1776, a document is signed that elevates the stakes. A list of grievances becomes a Declaration of Independence. But words alone cannot hold a line. As the calendar turns to 1777, the Revolution faces its darkest winter at Valley Forge.
It is a battle against hunger, disease, and the cold. There are no flags waving here, only a quiet, brutal struggle for survival. A third of the army has no shoes. The dream of independence is freezing to death. Yet they endure. They train under von Steuben, a Prussian master who transforms a mob of farmers into a professional force. In the snow, a new kind of army is tempered. The war moves south, 1781. General Cornwallis, the British commander, makes a fatal mistake. He builds his defenses in Yorktown, a peninsula with no room to move. It's a perfect trap. The combined forces of the Americans under Washington and the French under Rochambeau establish a relentless siege. Day and night, artillery pounds the British positions. There is no escape. The Royal Navy is blocked by a French fleet. On October 19th, the improbable happens. Lord Cornwallis orders his men to lay down their arms. The mighty British Empire surrender. The impossible has been achieved. The sounds of battle fade, but the echo of what happened remains. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognizes a new nation, the United States of America. It began with farmers, with Minutemen, with a shared dream. They were plastic figures before they were flesh and blood heroes. When you look at these old toy soldiers, you don't just see a game, you see the architectural plan of a legacy, the proof that with enough resolve, even the smallest can defeat the greatest.